Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas needs to retire. It fully acknowledges that he is completely out of touch with today's society. Specifically, he says he's out of touch with the young people who are graduating colleges today. He also states that he's out of touch with the lack of quote-unquote patriotism of the people of this era. Now, I'm going to play you a segment from the Roland Martin show, and it's going to show a segment of his speech. Now, I was able to locate his full speech, and I'm going to attach a link at the end of in the comment section. I'm going to attach a link to that speech for you to hear it for yourself. But he needs to retire. He really does, because he's a problem, and it's not just being a conservative, though that is part of the problem. It's just not understanding what's going on in America today, and also hearkening back to the fact that he claims to be a strict constitutionalist, but based on the original Constitution before the 14th Amendment, he wasn't even considered a human being. So anyway, here's a clip from the Roland Martin show.
Many conservatives for the last couple of decades have complained about political correctness, and you hear a lot of that from even Donald Trump. Well, that was the focus of Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, commencement address at Hillsdale College. Here's some of what the justice had to say.
And will be sorely missed. As the years since I attended college edge toward a half-century, I feel a bit out of place talking with college students or recent graduates. Much has changed since I left college in 1971. Things that were once considered firm have long since lost their vitality, and much that seemed inconceivable is now firmly or universally established. Hallmarks of my youth, such as patriotism and religion, seem more like outliers, if not afterthoughts. So in a sense, I feel woefully out of place doing this or any commencement. My words will perhaps be more of a vintage nature than current in content. Words actually matter, not a current newspeak. I admit to being unapologetically Catholic, unapologetically patriotic, and unapologetically a constitutionalist. In my youth, we had a small farm. I am convinced that the time I spent there had much to do with my firm resolve to never farm again. Work seemed to spring eternal, like the weeds that consumed so much of our time and our lives and our efforts.
So in the speech, I want to go to our panel now.
One thing I wanted to say right here, Justice Thomas says that he feels woefully out of place giving a commencement speech. Well, hell, he should just not give the damn commencement speeches then if he feels woefully out of place. And to be honest with you, he really is. All right, moving right along.
Angela, Shermichael, Yolanda. So he's talking about this whole idea of how America's changed. But also there was a line in here that he said that I'm of a different time. Today there is much more focus on our rights as citizens and what we are owed. It is not often that one hears of our obligations or duties as citizens. And then he later said, if we are not making deposits to replenish our liberties, then who is? Are we content to let others do the work? Well, first off, and I've talked about this on the show. You're African American. First slave came here in 1619. Emancipation Proclamation, 63. 65, you find out in Texas. The Reconstruction 12-year period ends in 1877. Jim Crow era comes in, goes all the way through the late 1800s, all the way through the 1900s, all the way up until you say 1970, and even still, you talk about still having to fight for rights. So technically, African Americans have been full Americans for 46 years of the 397 years we've been in this country. So, yeah, Justice Thomas, we as African Americans are still demanding to be treated as a full American like Monique Tillman. Can I just ride a bike and not be accosted by the police officers? Can we not have a white sorority in Alabama wear a t-shirt with a black man eating a watermelon and some black folks on the shirt picking cotton? So, yeah. So this whole idea of demanding full rights as guaranteed by the Constitution, technically, yeah, hell yeah, we still trying to do it. That ain't political correctness. That's called doing what's right.
Well, we're still in the process of getting those rights. And also, you know, he talks about sort of if we're not putting in the deposits or putting or banking on our own liberty. Well, black folks have been depositing for hundreds of years and not seen any return on that. So we are still trying to get what is owed to us, very much so.
And it's also ironic that he says he's a constitutionalist. Well, that's how the framers of the Constitution set the Constitution up. It is about our individual rights. It is about our protections, our inalienable rights, which, as you say, we've only had for 40 years.
But also, Sir Michael, the framers of the Constitution also ensured he would not be seen as a full American.
That is correct, and I don't want to take out of context what the justice was saying because I did not hear or read the speech in its entirety. What I think, based upon what I heard, was what he was trying to say is that if you have a differing view, you should be allotted to voice that view. However,
I agree.
However, there are repercussions for what you say. So you have a right to say whatever you want, but don't be surprised if what you say gets you into some form of trouble.
Well, but also again, though, and again, first of all, context absolutely matters. But my position on this whole idea of, let's talk about, the whole issue of patriotism. I mean, I've been on the whole line. I'm with you on that one. But again, to Angela's point, as African Americans, we've made a hell of a lot of investment and deposits going down the line, and so when you, for the African American, is a constant state of no, we want what's full and just and right. See, one people forget, Dr. King did not talk about equality. He talked about freedom. He wanted a black child, the moment a black child was born, to have the exact same rights and privileges as any white kid was born, as opposed to the moment you come out that, oh no, things are a little different from you. That's the thing, and so I think for an African American, we would love to be fully patriotic, but treat me fully as an American.
When you talk about there's talk about sort of individual rights and fighting for your individual liberty and pulling yourself by your bootstraps, but I think we often see this attitude where that can only look a particular way. We only want to fight for individual freedoms when it's about freedom of speech, when it's about your freedom to drive your bike home from the mall without being slammed and tased on the ground. And so I saw it sort of in the words and also in the posture that hearkening back to the good old days. And you hear this from Donald Trump, where Americans would fight for their rights and fight for their individual freedoms in a particular, in this more traditional way, but there isn't that same space and opportunity allowed for black folks to fight for their rights and to fight for their individual aspirations in our own way as well. And that, I think, is the rub from the hypocrisy that kind of comes up when you talk about from folks like Justice Thomas speaking to being a constitutionalist. Well, who gets to have access to to the rights that are afforded to that Constitution.
That's a legitimate question, and I'm reminded by the Politics that was written by Aristotle when you talk about what makes a citizen. And Aristotle goes down through a plethora of variables of what makes someone a citizen and what doesn't make someone a citizen. And to your point, if you do have this doctrine that we all say, okay, we will obey by this doctrine to govern us, and we expect that this document that we think will govern us, we should all be entitled to the same rights equally. I think there is some legitimacy to the argument that there are some discrepancies as far as how certain groups and individuals are treated in this country versus others. And so I do think that there is legitimacy to that.
Let's make it plain. You know, Black veterans fought for this country and came back from World War II and did not have the advantages, access to the GI Bill, could not buy homes, were forced into red line situations, did not get to have school paid for. So, you know, again, we are still dealing with the repercussions of that.
And not getting a return on the investment that was made.
Or, I mean, again, to my point, I think there's an important philosophical argument to be had here.
There is no philosophical argument. The argument is based in reality. And, you know, I kind of like this young kid, but, you know, he needs to sharpen his arguments, because, you know, philosophical or theoretical, no. It's based in reality, and how justice and various other systems are meted out, okay, based on the power structure that is currently in place. So philosophical, my ass.
From conservatives to liberals to strict interpreters of the Constitution, as far as do we have the same rights, though it says on paper we do.
Right.
Do we believe that? Can we see that to be the case? And I think many people would argue not.
Yeah, I don't think you don't have a philosophical argument, because it's all right here.
Well, and I'll tell you what, you know, when Congresswoman Barbara Jordan spoke at the Watergate hearing in 1974, I think she kind of made it real plain in terms of what the original intent was. And so, and again, I know he's a Supreme Court justice, that's all great and wonderful. You can call yourself a strict constructionist, but the reality is, this is how she broke it down when you talk about that Constitution, strict constructionist.
Constitutionalist.
And I would not be fictional and would not overstate the solemnness that I feel right now. My faith in the Constitution is whole, it is complete, it is total. And I am not going to sit here and be an idle spectator to the diminution, the subversion, the destruction of the Constitution. Who can so properly be the inquisitors for the nation as the representatives of the nation themselves? The subjects of its jurisdiction are those offenses which proceed from the misconduct of public men, and that's what we're talking about. In other words, from the abuse or violation of some public trust. It is wrong, I suggest, it is a misreading of the Constitution for any member here to assert that for a member to vote for an article of impeachment means that that member must be convinced that the president should be removed from office. The Constitution doesn't say that.
Now, in that, the great part when she said the Constitution is clear, when they said we the people, I wasn't included in that we the people. And it took a war, it took amendments, it took all of that for me to be included in we the people. And I would say, you can complain all you want to about political correctness, but I would still say 397 years after the first slave came to this country, we still trying to fully get we the people.
And if you, again, submit to this document that governs us as people in this country, and you say this is a great document that governs us as a society, I don't see how anyone could holistically believe in that doctrine if all the people who are governed under that doctrine do not share the same freedoms.
Well, yeah, but again, though, we know we don't share it because we cover those stories every single day, and that's what I'm trying to say. So when people talk about political correctness, no, it's called demanding what's ours. Coming up.
Exactly. So I'm going to add a link to the box for the complete speech that Supreme Court Justice Thomas gave at Hillsdale College. But I submit to you that Roland is correct as far as his assertion that we really haven't had quote unquote total freedom until the past 46 years. And it is a suggestion of mine that while President Obama is in office, that he shine a light on a lot of the things that were going on during the period where we were quote unquote attempting to obtain our freedom. I would like to see the FBI, your J. Edgar Hoover buddy, I'd like to see the FBI files on Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the various Black Panthers, and including the entire organizations located both in Philadelphia, New York, and Oakland. I'd like to see the files they have right now on the Black Lives Matter movement and Campaign Zero, and the principal people involved with those organizations, just so that we could place an air of openness and transparency, so that we could actually see what kind of information was amassed and exactly what the people in power actually think.